Hey, everybody. Let me know if you can see my screen. How's everyone doing? It's the final day. You've made it. It's good to see you all. Okay, we're going to get started in just a second. But Lisa, you've got this. I know you've got this. It's not easy to have little kids running around. We're trying to get some work done. So if anyone gets it, it's me. Promise. I know you know. All right. Hopefully no one's kids are trying to cut off their own hair today or any other issues. Oh my God. Let me see if my camera. Why doesn't my camera like me right now? Hello. Okay, so let's just take a second while I figure out this camera situation. What is everyone feeling? How are we doing? It's the final day of the boot camp. What type of aha moments have you had? What are some things you have said, okay, this is something I got to focus on. This is something I got to do. What did you learn? Let us know in the chat. Let us know how it's been going so far. And I just want to hear from you guys. I am. Hello. Like, you can do anything you set your mind to. That's one thing that you've learned this week, for sure. Okay, so keep letting us know in the chat. Some people are still joining. And we're going to have some extra time today for some chats. So be ready, ask all your questions. This is your last chance to get me live, to ask me the questions you want to ask, to get some feedback from anybody else. So do not be afraid to ask the questions. And then if I have questions and nobody is participating, I might call on you. So just be prepared, okay? Kelly says, oh my gosh, this has been amazing. I'm starting to bring on other carriers, new phone systems, so much at once. And I realize now, clear as day, I need to write down my processes. Amen. I love that. Okay, awesome. And just so you guys know, doing your processes is not something you're ever going to finish doing. There will be a point where you have to go back and redo them a little bit, make some changes. You're going to need to finesse them a bit. You might be switching who's doing what. You know, that's something that's kind of an ongoing process that never ends. We are going through and doing this whole thing all over again and we hadn't done it in a few years. It's refreshing. It's frustrating. It's not always easy, but having it done is a godsend. So take the time to do it. And I promise you, you will see such better results. Amanda says, breaking everything down has helped me categorize it accordingly to priority instead of just getting overwhelmed with how to get where I want to be. Some questions that we can maybe go over. Do you use leads? If so, which lead sites do you find better than others? Awesome. We can definitely ask the entire group that question. Jill says, I am just excited and re-energized, and hopefully a little reorganized too, right? There's so much potential that I didn't realize I was missing out on. Great. Love it. Amazing. Cool. A couple more people are joining. Hopefully those of you on Facebook, if you have any questions, Felice is paying attention. Please make sure you're putting them in there. All right. So today we are going to figure out where you're starting from and some of the things that you can take steps on moving forward. I want to try to bring this all back to how do we figure out which thing is probably the best thing for us to really focus on right now. What happens is we all try to do all the things all at once, and we end up not getting anything done or not getting the things done as well as we possibly could. And I had to realize and make the hard decisions and the hard choices that I was just going to be focusing on certain things and stacking those things one thing at a time in order for me to execute well and in order for me to actually get those things done. And I promise you, it's so much easier when you can say, okay, for the next month, for the next couple of weeks, for the next week, for the next weekend, whatever it might take or what it looks like and how big it might be, I'm focusing on this one thing and this is what I'm doing before I move on to the next thing. Okay. Sometimes that needs to be multiple things. I get it. But when we can hone in our focus, we're able to execute a little bit better. So in your workbooks, you're going to want to pull out your where are we starting from sheet. And I'm going to be going through these questions. I actually have the workbook in front of me that I printed out. So give me 1 second because it'll make it a lot easier to see. I have this massive camera in front of me. And we're just going to ask the questions and I'm going to give you the time to go through. Some of you may have already done this and that's okay. You might have to go back as I explain the instructions of what to do and get this done again. You should be able to use the digital workbook or you can reprint the page if you want to. So if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at this sheet. But what we're going to do is ask ourselves these questions, look at these statements and see how true they are, how strong we are in them and how maybe weak we are in them, which is totally fine. I want you to be honest. Nobody's going to see this number. This is just for you. The more honest you are, the better it is going to be as a tool for you to move forward. So we're just going to dive right in. Okay. So the first thing is you have a vision for your business that is clear. It's in writing and it gets communicated consistently. Meaning that somebody asks you where you want to be in 10 years. What does your business look like? Why was it created? You can quickly answer this question and you use the answer with your team, with your community, with your spouse, with any business partners, with yourself, whatever that looks like. Would you say it's a 1, 2, 3, or a 5? And all you have to do is either check mark X, fill it in, whatever you want to do, as long as you can come back and see what number you kind of graded yourself on. If you have any questions about what I mean when I'm just reading these statements out, let us know in the chat. Second thing is you have defined your core values and they're clear, and you work on hiring to those core values to include members and team members of your business that align with those values. So I don't care if you're a one woman, one man show, you have core values. Your core values are extensions of beliefs that you have, things that are important to you, things that you value. And if you have never defined those or they've never become clear to you, you already have things in your agency that you value, and it comes across in the way you behave, the things that you focus on, the things that you make priority, the way you want your business ran, the way you show up and serve your team, your community, your clients, etc. So have you defined those values? Are you working on them? And are you hiring people that align with those values? Because if they don't believe the things you believe, you're the leader, right? They're not going to be able to buy into the way you do business and why you do business. So super important that we're working on hiring people that align with those. Next one is we know exactly what we need to focus on, and the entire company is laser focused on it without distraction. The distraction piece, it happens. So don't be too hard on yourself with that. But does your company know what you're focusing right now? Everybody in our agency knows we are focusing on getting these VAs up and running so that we can alleviate that stress, that time commitment. We want to make sure our processes are in place and that these VAs are up and running. That is our focus right now. We cannot move on to other things that we need to focus on until this is done. Everybody in our agency knows this. Okay. Next one is our company goals are clear and communicated. Notice how we have this communication piece repeated, right? It's important because it's all in your head or you're the only one that knows it. How do you expect people to help you get there? Communicated, and we know exactly what the measurables or what the measurable is of what we want to achieve. So the same equation I've kind of used all week. We want to grow by $1 million. This is what we need to sell. This is what we need to retain. If we aren't able to achieve this, this is what it means. These are the benefits, and this is why it's important to us. So we can put numbers to things. We talked about hiring a receptionist and having them answer 9 calls out of 10. That is a measurable we put to their position. We can measure on call logs and call reports of if they were able to hit that number. What are these measurables? The next one is we have a clear understanding of who our target audience is, and all marketing and sales efforts are focused on it. Okay, so when you're working on who your ideal client is and how you are going to show up on social, how you're going to network, how you're going to do email marketing, how you're going to print flyers and mail them, or whatever marketing vehicle you use to get your brand out there, are you trying to target the right people? You're still going to attract all kinds of people, but are you focused and honed in on who your ideal client is, maybe your niche, and making sure that your marketing and your sales are aligned to show up and serve those people? So the next one is we have a strong brand that explains exactly what we do, who we do it for, and why it matters. And we can tell anybody in under 15 seconds. It should even be faster than that. There are equations you can find online, like an I help statement, or if you're looking to communicate what it is that you do, who you do it for, and why it matters, right? It's kind of your quick elevator pitch. We also call it a unique value proposition. And if you help create this, then you can teach it to your team and they can quickly tell people what it is that you do instead of just saying, I'm an insurance agent. We want to be able to have a brand that tells people, hey, you're my ideal client. Here's the problem you have, and then here's how we solve it, so that it helps them decide if they want to hear more, do business with you, if it's something that's even for them. Okay. Everyone in your organization fits your culture and shares your core values, which means that they're the right people for your business. So this does have to go a little bit with hiring people aligned with your values, but the people that you have now, are they people that fit your culture? Are they people that are aligned with the values and the vision? Do you feel like you have the right people in your business? Now, with those people, you work hard to hold them accountable, and they understand the roles and responsibilities that they have clearly. They understand the position they play in your agency. They understand what results they need to be getting. They understand the ownership that they have. It's clear to them, and you're showing up to hold them accountable and teaching them how to hold themselves accountable. Okay, everyone, well, there you go. Everyone understands their roles, wants to be in those positions, and has the capacity to get their job done. So let's say you have the right people in your business and they do align with your culture and they buy into your vision, but are they doing what they enjoy doing, what their zone of genius is? And do they have the capacity to get their job done? Meaning, are they overloaded? Do they have the tools they need? Have they been trained? Do they have the support and the resources to get their job done if they are in the position that is the best position for them and they're enjoying what they're doing, and they want to be doing what they're doing? They're showing up and they want it, and they also get it, but do they have the capacity and the tools they need to get the job done? Okay, we're kind of halfway there. Does anybody have any questions? Any clarification on these where you're like, I don't know what to put. I don't even know what she means. Okay, let me know. It's okay. We'll come back to it. Okay. As a leader, you are open and honest, and you show your team that you're true to your word. This is a hard one for me, but it's definitely important to have this here. It's important that you are candid with your team, that you're not afraid to tell them how you feel and what you think, that you're not afraid to show them where you're at in your business and what's going on to what pertains to them, that you may say, hey, we're going to grow by $1 million in premium this year. And if we do that, here's what I'm promising, or here's what I would like to have you benefit from. And then when that gets achieved, you actually do it. You stay true to your word. Let's say you tell them you want to give them unlimited amount of time off. I don't know if that's like a thing, right? It's a trend that's going on. Well, when they come and tell you they want time off, are you allowing this to happen? Just as an example, right? You say you want to do these things. Do you actually fulfill them? Do you stay open and honest? Are they comfortable coming to you as a leader? This is a hard one to answer. You got to really look in the mirror and decide, have you been able to do this? I was not able to do this in the beginning. And I had all these dreams and ambitions, and I had all these things that I wanted to do. And when things kind of came to fruition, I wasn't always true to my word. So I really had to make sure, not because I didn't want to, but because other stuff was already coming up, right? And you forget things, and it really makes your team lose trust in you as a leader. So we want to make sure we're doing the best we can with these. Okay. Everyone has goals and priorities that are imperative to their roles that they focus on and are clearly written out for them to refer to. So as your team are playing certain positions, you feel like they're the right people in the right seats. And even if they're not, as you start shifting things or maybe making some changes or hiring some new people, we want to make sure they understand what the goals are and the priorities that they have for their role, and that they are focused on them, and that they're clearly written out, just like our process is. What is your position? What's the title? What's the purpose? What are the job responsibilities? What are the measurables that you are responsible for? And if you have all that clear, it should be written down so they can refer to. It also really helps you when you have to have an accountability meeting, or you have to maybe just do a review of their position and how it's going, or when you're thinking about possibly giving a raise, right? You can go in and have a meeting with clear numbers that you're tracking, and they can go back and say, okay, this is how I'm going to be evaluated. She already, or he already let me know, this is what's important in my role. And so there shouldn't be any room for assumption. It should be super clear what is expected of them and how they're going to be evaluated. Okay, you have a team who is regularly attending and engaged in your meetings. They're always on the same day, same time, follow an easy agenda. You have a routine or a system in your agency to constantly stay in touch with your team. You keep it simple. You follow an agenda. You're not wasting time. You're not having meetings that could easily be an email, right? And you're keeping it consistent. And that your team is showing up and they're engaged and they're participating, and not just because you put the hammer down and said you have to be here and it's mandatory. I'm going to tell you right now, there are times we struggle with this with one particular person in our office. So I can't even tell you I am getting straight A's in all of these things, but we are working towards these things constantly and every day. And we have this list and we know what's important. Okay, the next one is you have a system to manage the business finances that is able to ensure you are profitable and tracking where the money is being spent. Are you guys spending time with your money? Are you tracking your money? Do you show up regularly to analyze this and manage all of those things? And that it's useful, right? It's giving you the data and the information you need to see where you can find more profit, what things you can do to make more profit. hey, you use some type or form of a scorecard for tracking weekly measurables. So as we mentioned, we have positions, we have tasks that need to happen, and we want to apply a number or a measurable to those. Are you tracking them? Do you have a way to kind of create a scorecard from it? These scorecards or these tracking measures are going to help make sure that, again, you're not going based off your gut. You're able to show up to a meeting and say, hey, here's the numbers. There's no room for any gray area. And it really tells you what is happening or isn't happening. And I promise you, when you do this, your team is going to end up holding themselves accountable because it's available for them to see. And when they know there's a meeting coming up, let's say, you're going to print reports, you're going to look at those figures, you're going to come to your team with them. There's no room to hide. And so they're going to, without micromanaging, okay, they're going to be looking at these numbers consistently to make sure they're kind of up to par and they know how they're going to be evaluated, which is with these measurables. And so your team ends up holding themselves accountable. If they're having a bad week, they should be seeing what's going on. And the next week they're going to show up to hopefully do better. And with these, if you say you want the receptionist to answer 9 calls out of 10, and she's answering 7 out of 10, then you can say, okay, how do I show up as a leader and be open and honest and provide the tools and see what it is that's keeping her from getting to the goal? But let's say she's answering she's answering 7 out of 10 and she can see that. And so she tries to shift things around or do a little bit better. And the next week she's answering 8 out of 10. And the next week she's getting to 9 out of 10, right? And you can see the progression with the tracking that you're doing, that things are getting better. Because honestly, at the end of the day, that's all we can really ask for from our team and give them the space to do that. And so for me, it's more about seeing you progress and get better and get closer and closer to what we really want to happen in our agency. It's not always going to be that accurate and that easy, but we want to have a measurable in place so that you can kind of create that scorecard and that weekly tracking. Okay, next one. Everyone in the company has a number that they are responsible for producing and tracking based on their roles. So we're talking about some stuff we haven't talked about this week, but I've already said it like 10 times already. Every single position we have has a title, has a purpose, has job responsibilities listed for what they're responsible for. And then there's another section that is called the standards of which they should be doing these activities. And we give everybody a number, or every activity a number, like what we feel like the standard is that we want. Our standard for retention is this number for our agency. Who does our servicing? They're responsible to try to attain that number, which also makes it very easy to continue the accountability and the tracking, making it really clear when you're putting people in certain positions, what they're responsible for and what they need to be looking at when we're tracking, and then they can hold themselves accountable. Next one is, you know what your target profit is. Y'all should know it because we did this yesterday if you did your work. Okay, you know what your target profit is and have the 10-5 1-year goal to achieve it, 1-year plan to achieve it. So for those of you that aren't going to work with us in Agency by Design, totally cool. But I recommend that you take your profit goal and you look at how far in advance you're projecting to get there and start making a plan to reverse engineer that and go backwards. So let's say it does take you 10 years to get there. Or where do you want to be in 10 years? I just had a call with someone just before this. And I said, hey, what does life look like in 10 years? I said, okay, half of that, 5 years from now, what does it look like then? Where do you need to be at 5 years to reach your 10-year goal? Take 5 years and turn it into 1 year. Where do you need to be then? Take that 1 year and turn it into 90-day increments. What do we need to focus on for the next 90 days? So if you focus on the next 90 days and you kind of have this long roadmap of a plan that you reverse engineered from where you want to be, now all you have to do is show up and work those 90-day increments. And if you stay on track with that, you should get to where you want to be in 10 years, as opposed to just having this 10-year plan and being like, yeah, it'd be nice if I get there. And I'm just going to try to do everything I possibly can to make that happen. Right? It's not as focused. It's not as clear. Okay. I see some questions coming in. I promise you that I'm going to get to those. All right. You are regularly working on the business finances to ensure that the profit margins are high and growing. So before, we talked about having a way to manage your business finances and to track them. Do you have that system in place? This question is saying you're regularly using that system and that you're focused on the profit margins. So many business owners are always looking at the top line. How much revenue did you make? How many of you have been in Facebook groups or at events or things and they're like, oh, we generated $500,000. We generated $1 million. We generated 200,000. We generated 100,000. I have clients that have $10 million books of business or more who don't know how they were going to pay payroll the next month. It does not matter how much money you bring in. It matters how much your profit margin is. And then you can continue bringing in more revenue into your business top line so that you can keep increasing your bottom line. All I care about is how much do you take home? That's all I care about in my business. Because if we're bringing in $1 million a year and I'm taking home 100,000 of it, something's wrong. Or maybe I'm okay with that. Or we could be bringing in $500,000 a year and I'm taking home $100,000. Why work harder? Why have more responsibility? Why have more clients and still make the same amount of money? Kind of doesn't make sense, right? Okay. You are taking time regularly to work on your business and not just in it. Meaning that you have scheduled time, whether it's an hour a week, a day a month, a day a week every quarter, where you're stepping away from the daily to-dos and you're doing some planning. You're taking a look and analyzing, you're spot checking things at a bigger kind of macro level. So typically every day we're in that micro level. Are you taking time to get away from that and go macro and look bigger? The 30,000 square foot, the 30,000 foot view. 30,000 square feet is a lot, right? Okay. And lastly, this is a tough one. I know that not everyone's going to get this one. It's okay. Could you take a 4-week vacation stress-free and still get the results you want in your business? Okay, I'm going to address some questions and you guys are finishing this up, but I'm going to tell you what you need to do next. What you need to do in this section right here is I want you to look at all the number ones and total it right here. All the number twos, total it in 2. How many number 3s? How many number 4s and how many number 5s? We're going to do that right here. Once you have this total here, you're going to take that number and multiply it, but whatever the multiple is above the next box. So if you have 5 ones, it's going to be 5. Simple math, get out a calculator if you need to. If you have 4 4s, that's 16, right? And then once you get all these numbers, total that number up all the way across. So 5 plus 10 plus 16 plus 20, whatever. And you're going to make that total right here in this percentage box. We have a question about what is the window to join Agency by Design. It is Monday at midnight. We get started right away next week. Your first group call is going to be on May 24th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So it gives us about a week to get you all your stuff, to make sure that you're set up. And it also gets you time to dive into your first modules. There are some people on this call that have already joined. If you have not done your first modules, I'm going to kick your butt. So make sure you're getting in there. I can see what's been done and what hasn't. So that's just a little disclaimer there. So make sure that you are spending the next week diving into all of that. Amy's asking, is your number of service roles in regards to retention percentage, or is it a new business number? Okay. I'm assuming you're asking about like the number, the measurable that we place on positions, and if it's in regards to retention for service or if it's in regards to a new business number. So some positions have multiple. If it's for service, it's going to be a retention percentage because that's the purpose of their role in our agency. Some people have hybrid service sales, so they might need a number for what they want them to pivot or sell to or cross-sell. So that would be a different number than like the retention piece. So let me know if that answered your question, or if you're asking me possibly how many service people we have based on like our retention or book of business. Okay, Was everybody able to fill out the form and get all the way down to the percentage piece? If you got stuck, it's okay. There's a ton of parts to this. For those of you that are brave, we're all brave, but for those of you that are extra brave today, feeling a little saucy, guess what I'm going to ask you to do? Let us know in the chat what your percentage is. What percentage did you get? Okay. Now, I don't care what your percentage is. What I cared about most is that you filled this out and you can see where you've got some 1s, 2s, and 3s. Where do you have some 4s and 5s? And what things you can make commitments on that you feel like are going to move the needle more in your business. What things can you make commitments on? Now, we've done this kind of all week, but now you have it more in this form so that you can come back to this. And you can print this out in the future as you've worked on some of the stuff and reevaluate yourself. Right? See that needle moving more and more towards as high as possible. I'm telling you right now, I am not at 100%. Okay. But doing these things help me go back and refocus and create a focus for our business and our agency so that the entire team is on board. Maybe it's a focus that needs to be in just a certain department. And so I am, as the leader, I'm going to decide that when I can see this visually and I can work with the people in that department. Also, for those of you that are getting higher numbers, like give yourself a pat on the back. Good for you. These are the things that our program and the blueprint is completely composed of. These are the important things. Yes, you have to sell and bring revenue into your business, but these are the things that we are not talking about as an industry enough when it comes to business and business foundations of what it's going to take, how to build that well-oiled machine that's running so that you can take your 4-week vacation stress-free. Maria's asking, how would be scored if you are a one-woman show? Okay, so if you're a one-woman show, you are a team of 1. Do you have measurables for yourself? Are your goals and priorities clear? If you were to bring somebody into your agency, would these things apply either weaker or stronger in the state that you're in right now? Maria, you are part of Agency by Design now. I've got your back. This number is going to get better. I promise you. We're going to go through all of this. Kelly says, how eye-opening, totally taking on watching my money. Yikes, but doing really well in other areas. Amazing. So it's time for you to commit to working on managing your money. Now, we were talking about having a scorecard. We were talking about how with the numbers that you track and that you're able to kind of see, you want to see your team doing better and better every week, every month, year over year, right? Same thing for yourself when you're doing this now or in the future and being able to compare those numbers. How is it going? I will tell you right now, I am very, very bad at something, and I'm always going to be open and honest and give reality. My team will call me and say, hey, I just closed a $50,000 policy. And I'm like, cool. I don't like to get excited about the progress that we're making. I have a tough time going back and celebrating things, even the small things, even the big things, because I'm already moving on to the next thing. And also I feel like if I get too excited, then my team's will be like, cool, she's happy with 50K. No, I want you to get to 500 for a policy. And we've done that before. And I want it to happen consistently. Maybe then I'll come back and celebrate with you, right? I have a hard time with this, but I am aware of it. And so I have to take the time to focus and do better. When my team gets excited, I need to get excited. But also as a leader, I push them, I challenge them, I give them the love shoves. So this is something that I have to work on, which also means that as I even see my percentage grow, I need to take some time to baste in that, to sit in that, to celebrate that. A couple things have happened to our business already this week in Agency by Design, where I was like, holy crap, I remembered the time that I wanted this to be where it's at. and it just happened. And I got excited, and then I immediately started having limiting beliefs. Guys, this happens to everybody. But I've worked on it, and I have the tools to get out of those so much faster than just letting it paralyze me or letting it bring me down further than I will allow it now. Okay, so give yourself some grace and use this tool moving forward. So what I want to do is have you take a moment and just journal for a second, answer the question that's below this, take a moment to write down any thoughts that are coming up. So thank you for those that are sharing in the chat of some thoughts that you're feeling. And it's important to gauge kind of where you're starting from and how far you have come and where you're going. And put some things in there that you, some of these categories, maybe take out a highlighter if you've printed this and highlight some of the things you want to work on. Look at your number ones and twos and see if there's some action you can start taking today, on Monday, whatever, to help these numbers get bigger. And as always, you are welcome to share. Elisa, I'm curious to know if you're filling this out again. I know you've done it before.
I am changing poopy diapers and listening for my name at this point. So go ladies.
Hopefully you don't get on camera on accident and have it on your forehead. Okay, we had some 63s, 55. Some of you have just started an agency or just are starting over. And so it's hard to kind of answer these questions. I get it, but now you know how to fill it out. Now you know what things to be focusing on so that you can get a well-rounded business. Okay. So I'm going to quickly go through a little bit of information on why this works, what you need to do, what the timeline looks like on what you should be working on first. I mentioned on Monday how everything starts with intention. Everything starts with your purpose. If you don't have your vision, if you don't have your core values, if you don't know where you're going in 10 years, you don't know what profit you want to make, how are you going to build the plan? How are you going to know what action you need to be taking that's going to get you on the trajectory to reach those, right? So the first thing you need to do is focus on that. The next thing you need to do is the setup process. Now that you know where you're going, where you want to go, you can start reverse engineering and creating that plan, the strategic plan to get there. Okay, take that plan and start implementing some things. See what's working, see what's not. Hopefully more things are working than not, especially since you're working from a place of purpose and intention and not just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, copying what other people are doing, you know, trying to not make it your own business and agency, not designing it for you. And as you start implementing, you're going to see you're going to see some places where maybe you're not executing as good. Maybe you can increase your productivity. Maybe you need to plan your calendar a little bit better. So how do you increase then your productivity and your execution on this plan? Maybe you got to go back to the plan and make some changes. Maybe you realize that the purpose and the vision that you said you wanted has shifted a little bit. That happens. Okay. Once you've got those pieces in, I want you to focus on increasing your money and profit. So Kelly, you're saying you're at about 70%, which means probably a lot of the first steps 1 through 4 are being done well, but now it's time to see how you can scale when it comes to your money. And the last piece is setting up to scale, whether that's adding more people to your team now because you've got the foundation, you know where it is that you want to go. So you know you can plug people in properly. Maybe that's opening another location. Maybe that's being able to not do as much in your business anymore and take more time off. That's also a version of scaling. Maybe that looks like starting another business, right? It could be all kinds of stuff. What does that look like for you? And the reason why it works is because, again, we're starting from that strong vision. We're creating a plan, we're taking action, and then we're making sure that the action that we're taking on the plan is getting us that money, that profitability, is giving us the life and the business that we want, that we said we wanted in our vision. Okay, so obviously it's not a secret. If you want some help to do this, then we have Agency by Design. It's a 6-month program. We do 12 group calls. We work with you hand in hand. You have access to us 24/7 through Slack for any questions you have. We have tons of exercises and tools and resources for you to take advantage of, all coming from the last 12 years of experience in multiple industries that have worked. We help you with creating that purpose. We help you with your core values. We help you with your branding, getting that unique value proposition. What's the marketing plan? Where are you spending your dollars? How are you tracking it? We help you with the tracking system. We help you connect with other people in the community that are going through what you're going through, are a little bit ahead of you, or maybe a little bit behind you and struggling. Like, the community piece and the benefit of this is priceless. We go on trips together. We're there for each other. We're shoulders to lean on and cry on. We're there to help other people and lift them up, and you get the same thing. And then really holding you accountable and giving you the timeline you need to go through the 1 through 6. And if you kind of just show up and follow the instructions, because we talked about when you create processes and your team knows what they need to be doing, they can just show up to your system and just follow the damn instructions, and the results should be coming as long as they're consistent in understanding what that is. Same thing with this program. Okay. And then we help you when it comes to managing your money, setting up that structure, what that routine looks like, working through some triggers you might have, habits you might have, making sure your relationship with money is healthy, because we all have our own story of what that looks like, and helping you generate more sales and revenue and more profit. Okay. So for those of you that maybe haven't booked a call or thinking about finding out more information, you can actually click the link in the workbook, the digital form, or Felisa can put, when she gets a second, hopefully your hands are clean, put the link in to book a call. If anybody has any questions about ABD, we can tackle those before the call's over today. Let me know. You may not be the only one with that question. There are no stupid questions. Otherwise, I'd love to open the floor for any last questions somebody has, for any, things you might want to go over. If you've made a commitment to do something, to take some action today, tomorrow, this week, this month, but you're not really sure what that looks like, you have 15 minutes to strategize with me and anybody else. Hello. Oh, finally, she came in to pop in and say hello. Here, drink the Coke. I don't care. Just don't cut your hair again. Did you guys see that haircut? Isn't it lovely? Makes me cringe. It's gonna be okay. So let me know who wants some strategy. You can just unmute. That works. If there's anybody on Facebook who has a question, let us know. Let's see.
Cassidy, is there an option in the fall? Because I am so overcommitted in the next 2 months.
Yeah, I actually had this question come up. So we typically, since it's 6 months, right, we will kind of have an event or open up enrollment within 6 months typically. I will say there's been a lot of action and there's a lot of people, and now we are allowing people to re-enroll, meaning if you're an alumni, you get the option to stay on to the group calls and have access through Slack and all of those different things. Because people are now moving forward and they want help with different things that's happening in their business. So to be honest with you, I cannot promise anything, but the goal would be for 6 months from now. Yep. Also too, what are the things that I don't think enough people realize too, and probably because I don't talk about it enough, but I spend about anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a year on my own development. going to conferences, learning from really big business people, trying to take all the tidbits I possibly can and improving myself for selfish reasons, right? And for the businesses that we have and the things that we're doing. But what happens is all that knowledge comes to me and then I filter through it. I filter through what's going to apply to our industry. What do people actually need? And then we update agency by design. So if you're a part of it, whether you're an alumni, whether you're just now getting started, whether you do it in the future, all of that information gets put back into the program and all the online stuff you get access to forever. So right now we're rebranding and we're revamping as we speak. I have some things I got to do today to put into the program. And so anybody who has had access to it is going to get the newer version, right? So it's going to continue to get more robust and have more stuff, which also means that in the future, the price is probably going to go up. I promise you that's not a sales tactic. I'm just warning you right now that that's coming down the pipeline at some point. It could be next time, it could be a couple years from now, but the more we invest and the better we make this, the more the value is going to go up. But don't be afraid to jump on a call with me. And there's been some people that are just not a right fit right now, which is totally fine, but they're getting some tips during that call to at least give them direction on what they should do next. Kelly, actually, I'd love to know, since you kind of unmuted, as you've kind of said, it's just eye-opening, you got to work on your money. Is there something that you can commit to focusing on, even though you're overcommitted, which here's my love shove, don't say that anymore. You're not overcommitted. You just got to become more productive and focused, right? There's a lot of things we can accomplish in the same amount of hours a day that everybody has, right? It's kind of like a limiting belief. Kind of me yesterday saying I'm not a morning person, but that's not true. I can't say that anymore because then I won't be a morning person if I keep saying that, right? But is there something that you're like, okay, I can totally do this moving forward, even if you don't do it on Monday, but you're like, this is a focus that I have?
I journaled and wrote down, like, I'm going to fall in love with my money. I work too hard for it. I have to start looking at it. I think Mondays are a great day. I used to try to do like a financial Friday, but by Friday, I'm so spent mentally, and looking at numbers is the last thing I want to do ever anyway. So I feel like if I shift that to start my week, and I'm proud and I recognize and celebrate again how hard I've worked and how successful this agency really is. And why not motive that? I feel like that's going to refuel me, but I've got to start looking at my numbers. I just,
Okay.
It's so hard.
Yes, I think that's true 100%. And honestly, it doesn't matter what day of the week you do it, as long as you're doing it, if it's a weekly thing that you want to do. And I will tell you, in the beginning, it was difficult. It's just like starting, I know I keep using the gym, but it's like what's happening in my real life, right? It's just like starting at the gym again. You come back sore, you're feeling weaker, you're not happy with the results. But as I started doing this consistently and said, I'm going to face the music no matter what the music is telling me, because if I don't face it, it's not like the numbers are going to change. So it is what it is. But if I start to face it, I can start making changes, or I can make sure I know what's happening. Right. And I now look forward to it. I now get excited about it. This is the thing that I love to do the most in my business, is do the tracking and be able to say off the top of my head at any moment of the week, this is where we're at. This is how much money we're making. This is what's coming out. This is how much I can pull, and then start getting excited about what I can pull and what I'm doing with that. So once you have a grip of your money, you can start making better decisions on what to do with that money, how to invest it so that the money keeps growing and getting bigger. And it just becomes this cycle that you end up getting excited about. So definitely love it. So I'm tactical and actionable. So I'm going to ask you one follow-up question. What does looking or spending time with your money look like? Give me one thing.
It makes me feel scared.
Okay. But what can you do? What's an action item? What's a task you can do? One thing.
I can just be honest and say, you know, this, I just have to really, I think, sit in it and look, like you said, where's your money going?
Okay.
Look at
So
everything and categorize it.
Yeah. So it could be set up a tracking sheet. It could be log into my bank account and look at my transactions. It could be making a list of your expenses. It could be, I mean, the last thing I want is to have more software and more things for you guys to do, because that will create friction, but something simple, right? Just pick one thing that's simple that you're going to do every Monday. And the reason I'm saying that is because when those of the rest of us, I'm using you as an example, but hopefully that helps, right? Pick one thing that's an action item, because we'll say, I need to do this. I need to do this. But like, what does that actually look like? Same thing when you're saying, we want these results and this is the vision. Okay, but what's the steps? What needs to happen here? And even if it's one thing you implement now, as you start looking at your transactions, you're gonna be like, okay, let me track them. So what happened this week compared to last week? Cool, you got some numbers. Okay, I see some pockets of funds, or I see that we're missing money, or whatever, right? And then you start building more and more and more things as you just take that one step. For those of you that were interested in learning more about Monday, well, the first thing you gotta do is sign up to get an account on Monday. I know that sounds so basic, but we don't do it. So you can make a commitment to do that if you're interested, or just start an Excel sheet. I mean, Monday is literally a glorified Excel sheet that you can add automations and integrations to, and that it's color coded for you already, right? Like it already has all the things, but it's just like an Excel sheet. That's just better, right? Just start there. So thinking about the things that you need to do and that you're committing to, what's the one action? It has to be something you physically need to do, and keep it as simple as possible. Because once you just take that step, the next step is going to come clearer for you, and you're just going to start that momentum. Felisa, who is on my team, I'm going to mention this as well too before I go, is the more you get better as a leader and the more you start showing up and doing things for you and your business, people are watching you, and the people watching you are definitely your team. And as I became more productive, and as I was reading more books, and as I've been going to the gym, I have a team member who just ordered a bunch of protein stuff and they want to lose weight. I didn't tell them to go do it. Obviously, that would be really mean. I don't even think she needs to, but suddenly they start to emulate the things they see that are well with you, because you're showing up and you're staying true to your word and you're living your values. And if they align with those values, they're going to be doing the same thing. So the more you invest in yourself, the better you get. Your team is going to get better too. And it's going to become very clear who is not aligned and who is. You will see that. You don't want people to be just like you, but you do want to inspire them to take action that's important to them. And when I found out that she wants to go on like a health journey, guess what I have the power to do? I have the power to support her. I have the power to maybe pay for some of it. I have the power to say, hey, I'd love to get you a gym membership or whatever. It's not just about how much money they're making in their business. Oh, my camera just overheated. So we're just going to do this without my camera. It's not about that. It's about recognizing that these are humans working in your business, that they matter, that you're noticing them, that you're showing up to support the goals that they have, even if they're not directly telling you what they are. This is how you create somebody who stays with you for a decade or more, who is invested in your business, who's going to do things to make it better, even when you're not asking them to. So with that said, Felisa's saying, I'm starting again after a year and a half of skipping on checking my money, and it's been a little overwhelming, but looking forward to learning my triggers and not spending mindlessly. So great. Okay. Wanda says, I used to not keep track of deposits or what I was getting paid. I was so overwhelmed, and now I'm sitting and looking at my in and out. So money coming in, money coming out. Yep. Yeah. So Felisa says Happy Planner. I have been using Happy Planner for years. Again, not good or bad. The only planner that matters is the one you use and that works for you. Okay. I do not care what you use. By the way, on our website, under the tab for free shit, we do have a planner download that's very similar to the Happy Planner. I have told people many, many times, just go print that and hole punch it and put it in a 3-ring binder. If you start using it and it's working for you, then go invest in the product, right? So don't go out and just buy all the things. But as I've done this, my team's like, I want that. And we've had planner parties, which sound really cheesy. And I know for those guys here is kind of feminine, but again, we're doing this as a team and we're working towards better skills and we're working towards everybody being more productive. Right. And so, yeah, it's just an example. Yes.
Sorry, I had a question regarding the money because that overwhelms me too.
Okay. Is this Maria?
Regarding, yes.
Okay, cool. Hey,
Regarding regarding bank accounts, do you have, I was struck redoing, I had a business account and a savings account for the business, but now that direct commissions coming, I don't know if this was a good idea or not, but like I have one specific account just for all the commissions to come in. So that way I can track in one place all the money that's coming in, or
Mhm.
do you think that versus Ed having coming in, out, in and out, with expenses?
Yeah.
I don't know what you think that's gonna
So
be about.
we have two accounts. Actually, I would say three. So the first account is our sweep bank account, which all of our commissions come into. And then I pull money from there into my agency checking, which is the main checking account where all of our bills come out of, our payroll comes out of, where the money is being held. And then from there, I will get my own payroll. I will take my own members' draws. And then I also have a savings account where I put money on the side for taxes, and also where I put sinking funds. So if anybody's familiar with like financing or budgeting, I call it money planning because nobody likes the word budget, but I will put money in there every month for sinking funds. So things like trip outings or team outings or trips or trainings we might need to do, or we pay Monday in full every year. So I will put as much money in there every month so that when the bill comes for the year, I have the money. And so I'm just kind of planning on things I know I'm going to be spending on and just putting chunks of money every month in that account so that I don't have to pull from the funds of our commissions. And it gets surprising, right? So as I started tracking my money, I could see what things I should be putting aside every month for like a sinking fund. Maybe it's holiday gifting for your team. Maybe it's, your business licenses or any licensing fees you have to pay at the end of the year. Instead of putting it on a credit card, if I have money, then I have it in my savings account. So those are the three accounts we have. Personal
You
finance.
said the agency, I'm sorry, you said the
Yep.
agency sweep when all commission comes in, right?
Yep. I
And
keep it
then number
separate so that
two,
it's nice and clean and I can go back and check my commissions.
yes. And then
Mhm.
you said the second one is your checking, and that one is where you take out your pay, you pay, I guess, salary
Yeah,
and office
all of our
expenses.
operating expenses come out of that account. Mhm. Yep.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Just like a little tidbit on like personal finance too. For me, this just works for us. I told my husband, because he's not great with money. And sometimes you just have to deal with people's personalities the way they are, as much as, you try to show up and give them inspiration. But what we did was we got one credit card that we use for all of our spending, instead of us spreading all of our spending across multiple accounts and credit cards. And so all of our variable spending, which means spending that is not going to be as consistent, or it's going to go up and down, it's not like a fixed bill, is going to be going on that one credit card. So I can easily at the end of the month see how much we spent. And then all of our fixed bills come out of a joint checking that we have where our income comes into. And so I know how much money every month comes out of that account because they're fixed bills. And so just condensing it to that one credit card and that one checking account has made one, money management super easy, and also being able to see where our money is going and being able to get a grip on it has been much better, because there was a point where we had like 10 credit cards and all these things. And yes, different credit cards and different accounts give you different benefits. But for me, none of those benefits are going to outweigh me being able to get a grip on my money and know what's happening. Right. And so if we see at the end of the month that we spent way over what we want for our money plan in food or eating out, then we can scale back because it's all on one credit card. Otherwise, I was going and checking like 15 different things and it was horrible. So that might not work for everybody. And I totally get that. But just try to keep it as simple as possible, especially because I did mention the book Profit First. In that book, he talks about having like 15 accounts and different categories for different things. Honestly, that doesn't speak to me. I don't think that it's right or wrong. I just think that for me, the simpler I can make something, the better. And it is also one of our core values in our agency. One of those core values is ease, and it's all about doing more with less. And it's all about making things as simple as possible. We don't need to overcomplicate it. It doesn't need to be that complicated. We talked this week about just taking out a damn highlighter and highlighting something, right? Going back to elementary a little bit. Don't overthink it. Just try to keep it, especially with your processes too, keep it simple. So, okay. Last question, got a minute or two, anybody? Okay, well, I definitely have super enjoyed this week. This is what I love to do. This is what I build my businesses to give me freedom to do. Passion project. It's all about showing up, and I hope you guys got value. I hope that you're able to take action next week. Don't be afraid to stay in touch. Let us know what you're doing, what's working, what's not. You have questions, you can always DM me or email me. I appreciate you guys showing up. I literally have goosebumps. You can't see me on camera right now, but I get emotional because I love every single one of you. I'm so proud of all you women showing up in this industry. I can't even tell you, because I've been in it a long time and I'm seeing more and more women show up, and I think you're all incredible. You all have what it takes, with or without me, to do this. And just stay in the community, keep doing what you're doing. And if you have anything that you need help with, please let us know. Okay. Love you all. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there. And I'm sure we'll talk soon. Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
Welcome. Bye.